put it, then it's which name really you adopt. It's also a first time I get to meet someone who is named Kholihlahla, beyond Tata. Tata Alex, I'm sure. And then I hear that you are Tata Alex, and then I get confused. If I was told that your name is Kholihlahla, I was not going to forget it. and either misinterpret or mispronounce it in the manner that I did, I apologize. Also, I do think I do have a narrative for my name. I only have one name. It's Palis. I was born in Gqeberha. Gqeberha is in the province of the Eastern Cape, recently named. It's what many people who do not live next to the coast normally call it Port Elizabeth. When you were going to the sea, I think it's the nearest sea next to Durban, really, 5 hours that you can visit if you're coming from this part of town. My aunt, I'm told, in the late 70s when I was born, my aunt, my Rahati, was nursing in Kwakwa. There's a matron in one of the hospitals. There's not a lot I know. She said she will be called Palesa because she's our princess and our flower. So that is the only name I had and the only name usable, known by Home Affairs and Google in my name and family name. Thank you very much. I think, colleagues, as we proceed with the program, one would like to say that being at this location, or place called Mangawung, in 2023 for us is a formidable experience. It is a wanted and an intentional visit. What we do as council, we visit and capacitate all provincial geographical name councils such that we become one in processing but also in understanding the processes of name change. We cannot do this work from boardrooms in Pretoria. We are advisory council, meaning that we don't meet on an everyday basis. Neither do we know that you don't do that. But the urgency of our mandate has even become more critical. Some would say we are moving in a slow pace, including this province. We have not had many movements, many intakes of names, but also a drive towards this, as Tate Jeff was with us previously in council. And it became a worrying factor for some time. Letters were written requesting, pleading that this province should come on board and fully participate in council matters, because this is a national agenda. This is not a Pretoria agenda. What happened then after that, we had the last name I think we received was Brantford. Can you confirm that, Jeff? The last name received was Brantford, changing into Mama Winnie Mandela. Yes. Agree? Yes. And that as a whole, and that as an instrument of gain for this province, proceeded to even give us more lessons in terms of how we continue changing and processing names. I remember the submission coming back twice or 3 times, and it almost took a 2-year cycle just for that name to come through our processes. And the last call, I think it was a missing ID or a confirmation from a family member of Mama Winnie Mandela's family. That is when things changed. And we said our processes should be fully complied with, irrespective of which name we want is brought before us. Remember, council, we don't change any names. Names are changed by the respective communities and South Africans broadly. So when we received that, we said we had to go back because consultation is a critical part of how we do and how we accept the name changes. But also it is a critical documentation and the intake that courts wants when there's an objection and when minister is being taken to task. This council advises the Minister of Arts and Culture, currently Honorable Zizi Kodwa, on name change mandate in particular. It is a legislated mandate because it is through the Act of the South African Geographical Names of 1998. So it is quite an old act and one of those very few and first post-apartheid. So we remain committed in doing what we need to do, but there is a process because the South African government is a democratic one and requires that we all comply and that we all implement. We start with the Constitution because we need to recognize each other, including the places that we live in. And as we continue to say that South Africa belongs to all those who live in it, including then how we name and how we want to reflect and associate. We've had and we've been part of locations and landscaping, which includes names that are not so perfect. Others are even swearing words insofar as I'm concerned, very derogatory. Others continue to separate South Africa. Others are still using names that are banned, like Kaffers, Kloof, is it? The Kop, Kral, yes. Such names, and this is the work of council and PGNCs and at municipal level, that we continue to receive these inputs from our communities who feel aggrieved, who feel that they want to see change, that they want to associate with their places, their rivers, their mountains, their street names, the buildings, and roads included. Because a road is what you use to take you from point A to point B. And unfortunately, even with spatial legacy of apartheid, you find that you have to be removed from your place of residence to your place of work. Therefore, you have to, in fact, obliged to travel this route where you do not like the name and you have an opportunity, you have a right to state your case through this committee, through this council. I'm not going to say much because we have lined up this as a capacitation program. So in that, we're going to find quite a lot of inputs from respective committees, but we're going to do that also through the department, because the department is the overall administrative arm, which then says to minister, we are on the right track. The advice you are given by this council, your appointed minister, can be further be implemented operationally and otherwise. So the overall people concerned in this program are people from the department. But I would have also done an incorrect gesture here because we have 2 new members. Free State, yes, you have just come on board, but we also have a member coming through from the Eastern Cape, Councillor Christian Martin. We welcome you. I have to have a special one for you because we're coming from the same territory and yours is full of gangsters where I come from. So I want to be protected because I know by virtue of you being here, you are a leader in your own right and you have led between gangsters, traditional, you have really led many components of our society. As a result, the comfort we received as this council, when we received your name, I said, I know that one. Things will happen as we were continuing to applaud the Eastern Cape in the work that they were doing. We want to say welcome to you. And that the expectations, the stakes are high. You've been part of a regimen that we're not sleeping on the road, coming and providing names and really working with us as council. So we still give you that responsibility and the expectation even remain higher. Because we know you are a foot soldier, you don't let anything lying down pass you. One thing I remember, I just want to reflect a little bit, is when you've put in crosses next to South End Museum. South End is a place of forced removals. It's like District 6 in Cape Town. And also like Sophia Town in Gauteng, you held a one-man exhibition and put crosses over there saying, not in our name. So I know your vision and ambition and your drive, and we say as this council, welcome, and you are part of us now. So are we capable soldiers who are going to continue working on transforming the landscape of South Africa. I think then, Mr. Langeveld, as I call you on board, to take us through the message from the minister, from the DG, and your overall branch, we ask you that then you share the message from the department that we serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to everyone this cold morning in the Free State. It's always nice to be in the Free State. You know it will be cold, but you know that the welcome and the experience will be warm in winter. I must apologize. As Chair has indicated, the Minister is out of the country at the moment. Our Deputy DG is also in KZN on another task that the Minister has assigned to him, Mr. Vustema Ndima. And I am therefore delivering the message from the 2 leaders that I've mentioned. My name is Irvin Langeveld. I, like the chairperson, I also only have one name, and it is Irvin Langeveld. I also want to start by acknowledging the apology also from Mr. Lex or Alex from the MEC, and also then start by acknowledging the chair of the council, the chair of the PGNC, the other members of the Council of the SAGNC and the PGNC, colleagues who've been working tirelessly over the years to effect the transformation of the naming landscape as described by the chairperson. We are very pleased, colleagues, to be in the province of the Free State to create awareness of the urgency of the matter of the transformation of the naming landscape. Many wars were fought when our people realized, in fact, we are painfully aware that when the European people came to our continent, they found our forefathers and foremothers in all parts of Africa. Many wars were fought when our people realized that the immigrants were stealing their land. As soon as the immigrants had settled in various parts of South Africa, they immediately renamed the areas they settled in. The names they gave to these areas reflected their languages, their cultures, and even their own towns and cities back in Europe. In this province, as both the deputy chair and the chairs indicated, you will know of Parys, Brandfort, Boshoff, Bothaville, Villiers, Warden, and many more place names. In most instances, the colonizers ignored the names of places that our people had been using for centuries. In very few instances, the colonial and later apartheid administrations would take a local place name and adapt it to conform to European language, phonology, and morphology. These names would be adapted to the European language and come up with concoctions like Clocolan for Tlotlowani. African languages were not recognized as official languages and were replaced by Dutch and English for centuries in South Africa. Dutch was later replaced by Afrikaans. Democracy in 1994 brought the vote, but South Africa's formerly oppressed majority is still a cultural minority, as apartheid and colonial symbols, place names, and heritage still dominate our landscape. Hence periodic protests agitating for more radical change. During the recent COVID-19 lockdown period between 2020 and 2021, former Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Minister Mthethwa, made presentations to all 9 provincial legislatures where he engaged the legislators on the urgency of South Africa to deal with the matter of the transformation of the heritage landscape, and in this instance, the naming landscape. During his presentation to provincial legislatures, he shared with honorable members of the provincial legislature some perspectives on where we come from as the government in transforming South Africa's heritage landscape. Some of the name changes that we have done have been successfully challenged in court due to procedural flaws. A case in point is the name change of Louis Trichardt to Makado, which was successfully challenged in court. The court found that the consultation process followed was flawed. As a result, the name Louis Trichardt still exists in Limpopo. There have been high court challenges against the name change of Nelspruit to Bombela and Grahamstown to Makado. These court challenges have been unsuccessful as the courts have found that proper procedures were followed before the name changes were approved by the minister. We would like to applaud the Mpumalanga and Eastern Cape PGNC for their hard work and strict adherence to proper protocols with regard to the public consultation processes. Equally so, other provinces. We are pleased that the Free State has a functional provincial geographical names committee under the able leadership of Mr. Mochabi. You have a huge task ahead of you, colleagues, as the Deputy Chairperson has indicated earlier on. The Free State started with the transformation process with the name changes like Clocolan to Tlotlowani, Harrismith to Ntabazwe, and Brandfort to Winnie Mandela. The country needs more of such transformation from this province. I'm not sure if we drive across the province, we will see the road signs with Ntabazwe instead of Harris, instead of Brandfort, and Tlotlowani instead of